But the thing is, also part of the deal was like, so even though I'm a Christian and everything, I always still find a way to be the rebel everywhere I go. It's just in my nature. And I'm just not so much a rebel, just an outgoing, silly person. So at work, there was a big stink because they released something in the cafeteria. And I was like, I just basically was on a soapbox the whole day. Like, this is unfair conditions that we're having to smell this all day. And then the manager got mad at me for another reason, because the other day I showed up to work, but the other person didn't show up. And they got mad at me because I didn't call them because someone else didn't show up. And then they took me off the site altogether, which means that right now I'm just on call. I don't have a full-time job. I've been doing some Uber too, but it's a little rough. You know what I mean?
Dude, so you got in trouble for showing up to work. Is that what you're telling me?
Well,
Like you
to
went
be more
to work.
specific, yeah, I went to work and I got in trouble because I didn't call and someone else had not showed up to work.
That doesn't make I would be mad at the person that didn't show up. I would have been like, "Hey, thanks for showing up." So you're telling me
That's it.
that's what they did. They got mad at you for showing up.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That doesn't. Hold on. I got to censor that, man. That's like, like they got mad at you showing up whenever that didn't show up here, and this like, that didn't show up, and then you showed up, and
Right.
I didn't trouble.
That, dude, stop beeping me. You're freaking me out.
I'll turn it down.
Dude, did you see that new show where they're like looking at the sky and the stars start flickering in and out? And the guy's like, wait a minute, the stars aren't just flickering out. This is Morse code. Like, what is it saying? They're like, it's a series of numbers. It's a countdown.
No, I haven't seen that.
It's this really spooky existential show about people living in the simulation. But anyway, it's called Three Body. It's on
the
Netflix.
3 body problem. Yeah, all right. Oh, that's what that's about. Yeah. I've been, man.
Yeah.
I've been so as far as stuff that I've been watching, it's all been about like content creation and podcasting and whatnot. And so I haven't really watched any shows. I've just been.
Well, that's the thing. That's why that's why if we're on the podcast, we could go into all this stuff and, also tie in the faith and everything. Because obviously I don't watch things I used to watch, because once it gets a certain way, I'm like, I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
But
check it out.
I won't watch anything too evil. I mean, if it's just a story and this and that, it just depends. Violence is okay, but not like serial killers and torture and demons.
Well, so one of my friends yesterday asked me the question. Yeah, he's like, "Look, if he says I want to ask you because he's like, I know you're into all this." He goes, "But like, what about the like if good?" He's like, "Well, bad things happen to good people." It's like, so why does if there's a God, why does that happen?" And I was like, "Well, dude, that's always the question that people lead with, right? Like that's what I would have led with." When I
but that's an easy answer. There's an easy answer to that.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I want to know.
The easy answer to that is, if you read the Bible, you will see that it says the servant is no greater than its master. And Jesus himself went through trials and tribulations. In a perfect world, there's no place to learn. It's only through an imperfect world that the Lord can teach his lessons. If the Lord was trying to teach you a lesson in a simulation where everything was perfect, you wouldn't learn anything. And also, Jesus came here and showed us that death isn't real. He brought Lazarus back to life and said, look, death isn't real. He came back to life himself. He's like, death isn't real. I'm real. And so I think that Jesus Christ himself is the real world. And we are living in a simulation he's created in order to teach us and to try our souls. Because it says we will rule and reign. It says we will rule and reign with him. Well, how can we rule and reign with him if we have no sense of spiritual judgment? And therefore, that is life itself, him teaching us through like a simulation.
There you go, brother. No, I like that answer, and I gave a different perspective, but something similar. Because I told him, I said, look, if first of all, if you go back far enough, you have to go all the way back to, it's the Adam and Eve thing. It's the original sin thing, because we wouldn't know the difference between right and wrong unless we broke the rules in the first place and had to pay for it. So there's that, right? but I kind of said what you said in a different way. It's like, look, if God gave everything to us, then we wouldn't. There'd be no. You're right. No chance to learn anything. No chance for growth. I said, but because we have free will, we have to learn these lessons, and that means that we can't. There's no opportunity for growth, and no opportunity to have us learn anything if nothing bad ever happens, And nobody gets out alive. You're like, we all die for one. We don't go through this life unscathed. That's two. Like, not even Jesus made it out alive, even though he conquered death and came back, right, to your point. But it's like even Jesus got, physically tortured and beat and all this, and he had to deal with it too. And he was the best of us. Like, he was the dude that didn't do anything. He never sinned. Yet he had to endure some of the worst treatment. And so the lesson is that, why are you complaining? They nailed the best of us to a cross. They tortured the best of us. What are you complaining about? Oh, you got sick
every disciple. Every disciple was eventually killed for the faith, except for John, where they couldn't really kill him, so he was kind of like, immortal. And then he eventually died of old age. But I think he died of old age. But the point is, there are certain times they tried to kill him and they couldn't. Well, same thing with Paul. They tried to kill him and they couldn't. As far as he was beaten beyond death, and he said he didn't know if he was alive or dead, but he came back to life, whether he was beaten or actually killed. But yeah, man, there's people kind of like don't know the Bible, where no Christian or no man of God went through a time of easiness, except, well, with the exception of a few, like Isaac, as far as we know, lived a pretty cushy life. But he was Isaac. What do you want?
Haven't got to Isaac yet, so I don't know much about him. But
son of Abraham, the promised son of Abraham.
No, but then you're.
But you don't really see Isaac go through. If you look at the only thing Isaac went through is that when he was a kid, he was almost sacrificed, and that probably might have been traumatic for him. But other than that, he gets a wife when he's like 40. He gets to inherit a lot of Abraham's blessings, and in a lot of ways, that's the exception to the rule, because everybody else in the Bible had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations, hard times.
Well,
King David.
Yeah, David, Solomon. There were no wars during Solomon's time, but it's because he kept the peace with all the marriage alliances,
but
he wasn't supposed to do. And he let his wives build temples and put gods in the temple, which is false gods in the temple. So even the best of us fall, and that's the whole point, right?
So I get. It's like, if you compare that to some guy who just goes to work and masturbates, that's not as bad, I think, as killing a man to take his wife. It's all sin, right? But